I'm back. Hello, everybody. I'm Dr. Greg Sloop, and it's time for Live at 5 on this this Wednesday, September 4th, 2024. Hope you're having a great day. We are back from Scotland, got back yesterday evening late, and glad to be back home and back on Live at 5 with you. Hope you enjoyed the pictures of Scotland that I've been posting over the last week or so. And we're back to talk about the prominent stories and passages in the Old Testament, well-known stories and passages of the Old Testament. Today, we're up to Exodus chapter 20, which, if you're familiar with the Bible at all, you realize that is the giving of the Ten Commandments, where God gave the Ten Commandments to Moses. And that is the story we're going to be looking at today. Let's jump right in, and we'll make commentary as we go through. Chapter 20 of Exodus, starting with verse 1. And God spoke all these words, saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, or out of the house of slaves. So he establishes himself right up front as the Lord, the deliverer, the one who has given them the opportunity to be away from their bondage and in a place of freedom. They're still not to the promised land, but they're on their way and they're feeling good about what's happened. And God is just reminding them, I am the one who brought you out and the one who has placed you in a position to find the true promise of God. Verse 3 is the very first of the Ten Commandments. You shall have no other gods before me. In other words, God will not share the place of deity in your life. God will be the deity of your life. He will be the one that has the first place in your life. There will be no other gods, no other gods. You can't serve other gods. And that G there on gods is lowercase because he's talking about false gods who are not truly God. The second commandment says, you shall not make for yourself a carved image, any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them, nor serve or worship them. For I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity or punishing the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing mercy to thousands, to those who love me and keep my commandments. Again, first commandment says, no other gods before me. Second, don't even make a carved image of anything and worship it or bow down to it. He goes on to say, I am a jealous God. I will not share. And that might seem a little bit out of place, or not necessarily something that you would want in a relative, a friend, a leader. But we're talking about God here. God is the greatest of all beings that have ever been and ever will be. Verse 7, he goes on to share the third commandment. You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. He wants us to understand the concept of worship. Worship is when you realize something greater than you, someone greater than you, has a place in your life, and that he should be worshipped. He should be honored. He should be revered, and even his name should be revered because his name represents him. It's not him, but it represents him. Fourth commandment in verse 8, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Now, these four commandments are relating to our relationship with God. They deal with the relationship with God. These four commandments are vertical commandments. They're about what's happening between God and you. This fourth one, although it doesn't seem like it's talking about God, it is, because the Sabbath day was a command of God to keep it holy. Now, we know that in the Christian church, we uh, we revere and we worship on the day of the Lord, which was the first day of the week, Sunday, when Jesus rose from the dead. I don't know if God really had it in mind. I think probably he did because he's a God of order. But Jesus died on Friday evening. Sabbath day, he was in the earth. Sunday, he rose again on the third day of his death. We see here that God is saying to us, you should revere that day because I revered it, because I didn't work on that day. Sabbath is really Saturday. Sunday is the day of the Lord when he rose from the dead. That's when we commemorate him. But Sabbath was really not even designed as a day of worship in the Jewish faith. It was a day of rest. So I think we need to look at it more as a day of rest and not argue whether we should worship on the Sabbath or worship on Sunday. We should determine that we're going to find a way to have a day of rest, a respite, a relaxing time. I've been in Israel 4 times now. The last one was back during the war in October, when the war started. But in Israel, Jewish people, Israeli people will shut down their businesses on Friday evening about 2 to 3 o'clock. So they have plenty of time to get home and get inside with their families before sunset because their day begins at sunset. So Sabbath starts Friday evening at sunset and goes till sunset on Saturday evening. That is the Sabbath day for them. So they do this and they get home and they spend the time with their families and they rest and do no work. Why? Because we need a rest. We're not machines. We need a rest. People that work 7 days a week oftentimes are not well or they don't live long because they're not resting their bodies. That's the real principle here. Now, I've gone on and on about that thing. Think about how to find a Sabbath. Think about how to find a way to rest from time to time and let God have the ability to maybe speak to you during that time or have the ability to direct you or show you the way. Anyway, that's the first four. They relate to our relationship with God. Verse 12 gives us the fifth commandment. This is where they start talking about our relationship with others. First four, relationship with God, vertical. The next six are about our relationship with others, horizontal commandments. Verse 12, honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the land which the Lord your God is giving you. Honor your father and mother. If we don't honor our parents, it can shorten our lives. If we don't take their advice, sometimes we can have problems that we wouldn't have had otherwise. If we listen to the sage wisdom of our parents, especially those who have a relationship with God, then we can have the opportunity to live longer. I believe this is a promise from God. It's the first commandment with promise, and it is absolutely something that we should observe. Commandment number 6 in verse 13, you shall not murder. That's pretty straightforward. We don't even need a whole lot of explanation. We could talk about how Jesus augmented this over in the New Testament by saying if you call someone a fool or something like that, you be guilty of murder. But we're just going to leave this one like it is. Don't take a life. I think that this applies to a lot of different things. Don't mercy kill. Don't kill unborn children. Don't kill children. Don't kill those that are weaker than you. Don't murder. Just don't murder. Number 14, verse 14, number 7, you shall not commit adultery. That's pretty straightforward as well. Don't be with someone else's spouse. Don't come after them. Don't try to have your way with them. Don't even, and I think it would also apply to us not fornicating. Don't have relations before marriage. Take your time, wait till you get to marriage to have sex, and that's the command that God has given us there. Make sure, let's just simplify it. Make sure that sexual relations, that type of physical intimacy stays within the bonds of marriage, period. Number 8, verse 15, you shall not steal. Again, straightforward. Not a whole lot of interpretation needed there. Don't take something from someone else without permission. Don't take someone else's property. Number 9, verse 16, you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. And a lot of us have broadened that slightly to say don't lie. I think the principle is the same for either one. Don't bear false witness against your neighbor. Don't lie about them to get your way. Don't lie about them to get them in trouble. But I think it's probably true that God is just as upset with lying of any type. It doesn't just have to be in court. And then verse 17, number 10, you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, nor anything that is your neighbor's. Now, unfortunately, sometimes women and servants were considered property. And I think this, we've already covered adultery, so don't try to have your neighbor's wife. But in this case, don't take any of your neighbor's possessions. Don't covet your neighbor's possessions. Don't wish you had what they had. Don't hate them because they have it and you don't. In other words, take time to be happy with what you have. Be content with what you have, and don't try to have something just like what your neighbor has. Because your neighbor got his blessing, you live in yours and be thankful. And that sums up the 10 commandments. And I think that these commandments are great for us to live by even today. Don't treat God badly. Don't treat people badly. That's the summary statement right there. I'm mispronouncing a few words today. I do have just a slight bit of jet lag. Feel pretty good. Slight bit of jet lag after getting home from Scotland last night, kind of late. We're glad you were on here with us today. Whatever time of day or night you may watch, it's always our pleasure to have you with us, and it's our honor to bring this short devotional each day, Sunday through Friday. We'll be here Thursday, Friday this week. We'll be off Saturday and come back on Sunday again. If you haven't tuned in today and you see it later, watch it when you can. It doesn't matter to me what time of day or night. We're just coming on at 5 each day when we're here. God bless you. Spend some time with God every day in the Word of God and prayer. It's the best thing you can do all day, and it will change the complexion of your day if you start it with God. Please know we love you and we're praying for you. And I look forward to seeing each of you